At Stable Moments, we know that healing happens in the small, consistent interactions that build trust, connection, and confidence over time. And while structured activities, like our color-coded structure activities that we have in our 3-part plans, while those are super important, there are countless opportunities for trauma-informed practices to be woven throughout during greetings and transitions and even within those bigger structured activities. And these moments of connection can be just as powerful as the planned parts of the session. So that's where mini moments come in. And these are simple, small trauma-informed practices that mentors can integrate into their sessions naturally to support regulation, relationship building, and growth. They don't require supplies or planning or preparation, just presence, curiosity, and intention. And I'm hoping that we can add a few of these to our mentors and our program directors' toolkits. And these are good for people that aren't even in the Stable Moments program. If you're just a mom or a dad or anybody that works with kids, any kids, these mini moments can help you understand better how to interact with kids, but in a really meaningful way that actually helps regulate them, build that sense of felt safety, emotional awareness, and self-worth. So today we're diving into 10 mini moments that you can start trying out right away. And before we get started, if you would like a cheat sheet of trauma-informed responses you can say when situations get a little bit sticky, you can head on over to stablemoments.com/responses, and that's a completely free download that you can have. It'll say a situation you're facing and an actual response that you can say in that sticky situation. All right, so the 10 mini moments. Number 1 is a session starter. So think about something that you can create as a tradition, something that you do every single time you meet with a kid, every time you see the same kid. What could you do that builds continuity between sessions? So are you meeting in the same spot each time? And it might be like a special spot. So maybe generally mentors meet kids in the parking lot or in the lobby, but maybe you are going to create this space that's like a table over in the corner or a post or a picnic table or whatever, but you let your mentee know like, hey, where do you think that we should meet every time? I know that we like to journal at the beginning or we like to set up our 3-part plan. Where's a place that we can meet every time? And that way the kid knows that you are trying to build something special with them. They also have input into it and some ownership over this special place that you're going to meet. And you choose that place, and then you every single time are sitting at that picnic table or going over to the spot so that you show that you remember and that you're committed to this spot and this time with them. It doesn't need to be a spot. It can also be a question. So maybe every time you see them, you ask them the same question. Maybe it's just, what kind of day are we having today? Maybe it is, hey, how are you doing? I want to check in. Let's name something we're worried about and let's name something we're grateful for. Or just tell me one thing that happened this last week. Tell me something fun that happened this last week. And it would be great if you both shared the item so that it felt like a sharing and not just one-sided. So think about what's a question you can ask every single time, or is there a spot that you can have that you choose and make special? So that's a session starter. That's a mini moment that you can incorporate into all your sessions. Number 2 is humming for calm. Okay, so we just did a month on music, and one of the things we found out was that humming actually regulates the nervous system. So anytime we are triggered or our nervous system is activated, humming helps regulate that. So you might say, well, that's great, but humming feels a little awkward. So how you can do this is if you have younger kids, anytime you're transitioning or anytime you're cleaning up, you can say that we're going to hum like busy bees. So you as you're cleaning up, right? And model it for them, and then they're going to do it as well. And you can even say like, I don't think we can get this cleaned up in, let's say, what do you think, 30 seconds? Okay, quick, hum like busy bees. And you go ahead and you're regulating a nervous system. You're showing them that they can clean up, and you've made it fun because now you've put a time limit on it and it's kind of competitive, but there's humming happening with it. If you have an older kid that's like, you've got a kid that it definitely is not going to hum like a busy bee while they're cleaning up, then I would ask about a favorite song that they have, or, hey, what music are you into? What's your favorite song? Oh, I don't think that I've heard that. Can you hum it? And if they're like weird about that or whatever, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to think of my favorite song and see if I can hum it. And that way you can share a song through humming and kind of get the humming out without having it like focusing on humming. You can always, if you're having that conversation, then pull out a phone and pull up the song as well. And then you could even say, how could we hum that? And once you hear the song, this is a hard one to hum. Or you could start humming it so that you can kind of model that behavior. So we can always work humming in to sessions for regulation. You can also just hum a song on in between activities. So maybe you're walking with your mentee and you're just modeling that you could hum during those times. Mini moment number 3 is breathing buddy. So I know that everybody talks about breathing and they do different ways for how you can, smell the roses and blow out the candles. And there's different ways that you can help kids breathe. With breathing buddy, we may bring in a stuffed animal or have the child put their own hand on their heart. And we can say, let's breathe in and see how high we can get our hand or how high we can get our breathing buddy if it's a stuffed animal. Let's watch it rise. Can we get it any higher? And then fall. Oh, how low can we get it? How low can we get it? And see if you can get your breathing buddy even higher and see if we can get it even lower. This, instead of just smell the roses and blow out the candles, this actually really activates how much capacity you have to really slow down and think about your breathing and actual capacity of bringing in new oxygen and then letting that out. And through this exercise, kids can feel what breathing does for them. When you go to the top of your lung capacity and then you let it go, it feels very relieving because your body is saying that's as much as we can take, right? So breathing buddy would be any time that we want to try to take a couple breaths. This is like a mini activity we could do within other activities where we put a stuffed animal on our chest or we put our hand on our chest and we just see how big can they get and how small can they get. Number 4 is gratitude share. So this could be at the end of every session. This could be at the beginning of every session or maybe in the middle, but make a point to take turns sharing one thing that you're grateful for. This is a great way to express gratitude, to turn things into a positive note, to understand that even in tough times, there are so many things that we can be grateful for. And you don't need to, this isn't like toxic positivity. This isn't like, oh, I've noticed you've had a bad day. Let's be grateful. No, it's not that. It's like, hey, I know that life's, and I know that things can be tough. And I know that sometimes we're not happy and sometimes we're sad. But even when we're sad, we can find one thing that we are grateful for. And that's important because that one thing can inspire hope. So you can think about it. I mean, think about times that you were really at your lowest and you were still grateful for the food that you had, or maybe a person in your life that was there for you. If I were you, a mentor working with these kids, I would say for something that you can see around you. So I would look around you and say, I am so grateful for nature. I'm so grateful that it's sunny out today. I'm so grateful that I get to spend time with you. That's what I would do. I would not say I'm so grateful for my family. I would not say I'm so grateful for having a roof over my head. Those two things can be triggering for a kid that wishes they had a permanent roof over their head or wishes that they had a family. So a mentor doing a gratitude share, while I believe strongly in gratitude and hearing and voicing things that you're grateful for, I would have it be in the moment. So really look around in that exact moment and say something that you're grateful for that's happening in your environment right now. Now, the kid can say whatever that they are grateful for. And if you want to take it one step further, you can even journal about it. If you want to incorporate a worry, maybe we feel like just gratitude alone we're not in the mood for it. So what are we in the mood for? Are we in the mood for let's talk about one thing we're worried about and let's talk about one thing we're grateful for, okay? Number 5 is a grounding game. So this is going to inspire presence, okay? And this is a quick 4, 3, 2, 1 game. So you name 4 things that you see, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you feel, and 1 thing that you can smell, okay? And this brings everybody back to the present moment and really allows the child to get in their body, right? Because they're activating their senses to really seek things out. Now, this grounding game could be really good for you to implement as a mentor if you're starting to feel a little bit like you're wanting to rush the session, or things are getting a little out of control, or you're not feeling as connected to your own body or to the kid. You could say, hey, let's do 4, 3, 2, 1, okay? 4 things you see, 3 things you hear, 2 things you feel, 1 thing you smell. And this might not be that easy. 4 things you see, that could be easy. 3 things you hear, you might have to really lean in to, like I'm thinking right now in my environment, it is silent. So maybe you make noise to be able to get the 3 things you hear. Maybe you go and walk around until there are 3 things that you hear. 2 things you feel. So this could be an actual emotion, like I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling excited, I'm feeling tired. But this can also be things tactilely that you go out into your environment and you feel. So maybe you see they have those feel fuzzy books or something. Maybe you see one of those and you actually feel it and you say, okay, this feels fuzzy, this feels warm, this feels wet. But you could also do, I feel the wind blowing. Okay, so there's no limits to this. And get creative about all the ways in which we feel internally, externally, how we work with our environment and how we interact and notice our environment, and how we notice how our inner self, our feelings that we're just having that we bring to the environment, are also there as well. So we can talk about maybe 1 thing you feel internally and 1 thing we feel externally. And then 1 thing you smell, like what are we smelling right now? What does this room smell like? What are the different things we smell throughout our sessions? Okay, great for bringing everybody back to the moment. Number 6 is power pose. So this is standing tall like superheroes for 30 seconds. We've all seen these power poses that you can do. There's a CEO pose that I love that is leaning back in a chair and putting your feet up on the desk. So these are like powerful poses that we can do that can make us feel confident, assertive, having self-worth. And it is crazy that just putting ourselves in a position with our chin up and our chest out and our shoulders back, that we actually feel more powerful, that we're ready to stand in our own power. Now, this will be easier with younger kids if you say, let's stand like superheroes for 30 seconds. But you can also say, okay, let's think about how we're walking. We're going to walk to the gym, or we're going to walk outside. But while we walk there, maybe you notice your kid is kind of slumped and kicking rocks. And while we walk there, we're going to walk with our chest up. We're going to walk in power poses. And so while you're walking, this is the confident walk that we're going to have. Can you do a confident walk? Okay, what's a sad walk? What's a annoyed walk? What's a powerful walk? Okay, so you can kind of just play with different positions and see how a kid reacts with that. Now, if you have a older kid that just thinks that everything I just said is ridiculous and silly and they don't care and they don't they don't want to do a superhero stance. You can bring up something that you know that they like, come on, man, I know that you want to drive that specific car that you've been talking about, that when you get your license, you want to get this car. How is the person that drives that car stand? How are you going to feel standing in that car? And see if they perk up a little bit, okay? If they're kind of always down, you can show them what they look like. You can say, well, somebody that's driving that car is not driving it like this. Okay, they are driving it like this. Okay, so show that kid that they can embody what they want to manifest for themselves. You can also talk about a job interview. Dude, I know that you want to get that job at Dunkin' Donuts or wherever. And when you go into that interview, dude, I know that you're going to nail it. But you can't go into that interview like this, with your head down and talking quietly. You got to go, show me how you're going to go into that interview. Okay? So just play with some power pose stuff and see if you can have fun with it. And if you can get a kid to put their shoulders back a little bit and stand a little bit more confidently and show them how doing that actually can give them the confidence to believe that they can get the things that they want in this life. Number 7 is nature noticing. So this is what it sounds like. You need to be out in nature. You need to be outside, and you're going to pause during your outdoor session and notice the world around you. So what colors do you see? What sounds do you hear? This again fosters that curiosity, that mindfulness, that independence, but also that presence, right? That presence of mind. And all of us could use to do this. So this isn't necessarily like the grounding game where we need to think about how we are interacting with our environment, like the 4 things you see, the 3 things you hear, the 2 things you feel. This is more about, let's notice the world around us. We are all so in our head and in our session and in our what we're supposed to be doing that we rarely take time to simply notice our environment. What does this environment say to me? What do I see? What are all the colors that nature has to offer? What are the sounds that nature has to offer? What are the things that we generally ignore? And this is such an amazing practice, not only for yourself, but for kids. And if you do this in your sessions often, I promise you, you will notice starting to do this on your own outside of sessions, and you will be so amazed by how much you haven't been noticing in your environment around you and how beautiful nature is and how healing nature is. Number 8 is emotion colors. So this is asking your mentee to choose a color that matches how they feel today. Maybe this is the question you ask every time you start a session. So this is your session start question every time. Hey, what's the color that matches how you feel today? You don't need art supplies for this. This is just imagining a color, pointing to the color, and there's no wrong answers. So they don't need to explain it either. So if you think right now, like right now, I am thinking that I feel like burgundy today. And I don't know why. If somebody was like, what does burgundy mean to you? I'm like, I don't know. It feels like an angry color, but I don't feel angry. So you don't need to have an explanation. And this doesn't need to be like tell me more. What does that mean for you? And what is burgundy? And we don't need to get all floaty woo-woo with this, okay? I'm just saying, I feel the first thing that comes to my head when I think of a color, I feel burgundy. And if I was talking to myself, I would say, burgundy makes total sense. It's fall. It's chilly out this morning. That feels nice and cozy and warm. Am I reading that right? And I would say, yeah. Okay. So you can talk about what the color they said evokes in you. Ooh, purple. That sounds deep and full and maybe curious. Is that what I'm picking up? And they might be like, yeah, whatever. Or they're like, yeah, that is how I'm feeling. And maybe they'll feel seen and they'll feel heard on a different level because we're communicating in things that are abstract, right? And there's no right answers. And then you show, like, what color are you feeling like? Another practice that will be something that will be a way for you to gauge yourself, check in with yourself. Like, these are little tools that we can use to check in with ourselves, which we don't do often ever. And yes, you can sit there and you can roll your eyes like I would have at one point in my life and said, ain't nobody care about the color I feel like today, Rebecca. Like, nobody has time for this stuff. Like, why does it matter? But checking in with yourself, however you do it, emotionally, just checking in with your innermost self all day long is the most important thing you can do. We're here to be aligned with our highest, most truest selves and to heal those parts of us that keep us from being our highest, most truest self. And a lot of our resistance to silly things like breathing and checking in with ourselves and naming our emotions and getting grounded, a lot of our resistance to that is because we aren't living completely aligned with our highest and truest self. And we don't want to face that reality, because what would it mean if we had to give up some of our ways that we live and our programming and our coping mechanisms, okay? So I say all of that just to say, don't disregard these as like silly little things. These are pretty big deals. So check in with what color matches how you feel today. Ask your kid, think about it for yourself, talk about it. It's light, it's airy, no big deal. And that brings us to a silly shake, which is number 9, okay? There are times, maybe after you do your power pose, that we just need to shake things out. So if you are, this is probably with a younger kid, or a lot of our kids are older, but they are developmentally younger. So see if you can take a whole 10 seconds to really shake out your arms, shake out your legs, stomp your feet, your whole body. And I know we have our equine locations that work with horses, and oftentimes horses do this. They stand in the pasture and they, ooh. And so if you ever see that, then you could use that as a way to inspire a child to try it. So horses do it, especially after they roll or whatever, they shake their whole body, and you can be like, oh, that looks like it feels really good. Let's us try that, okay? But you can just do this at any time to release quick tension. Maybe you do this when you start a session. Let's just shake out our arms. Let's shake out our legs. Let's shake out our whole body, okay? You can even fall to the floor, get up, breathe, and move forward, right? It's just another way to regulate our bodies. And finally, number 10 is name that strength. So invite your mentee to name one thing they like about themselves or share something you notice that they're great at. This might be something you want to do if you have a kid that is generally, they're quiet and they don't know. They say they don't know a lot. I don't know how to come up with that. Maybe you would ask them, like, what's a color that matches how you feel today? And they're like, I don't know. They can't come up with that. What is something that you're grateful for? I don't know. If you have a kid like that, I want you to keep trying these different things, because you can show them what you would come up with. But that's why in Name That Strength, it could be really good to model for a kid what you've seen in them that is a strength, something that they're really good at. And you can do this 10 times throughout a session. I would challenge yourself to do this 2 times in every session, where you are noticing something a kid is good at and saying, wow, I noticed that you are really good at putting away your stuff. You are really organized. Wow. I noticed that you're great at drawing. You have a killer arm on you. Any of those strengths, okay? And then see if they can name one thing about themselves. And if they can't, then you have something ready that you can share about them that's a strength. And then you can share something about yourself as well. So you can say, it's actually really hard to come up with things that we like about ourselves or things that we're really good at. But I do know that I'm really good at soccer. I do know that I'm a really good gift giver. Like at Christmas, I love giving people good gifts. I know that I'm a really good baker. I know that I'm really kind, and that's a strength. So you can say one thing that you do know you're good at. And this helps build independence and self-worth mainly, okay? So build that in, make a goal for yourself to name at least a couple strengths per session. And then you're gonna kind of train yourself to just be like talking strengths all the time. And you'll notice that for the more things that you say that you're really good at, you start to have more confidence, okay? So that's what we're trying to build in the kid, and the more confidence we get, maybe we won't feel so silly doing that power pose, right? So there you have it. Those are the 10 mini moments that I want you to set a challenge for yourself. Every session, moving forward, go through these moments. We have them at on stablemoments.com on the blog, so you can actually look through the blog each session and just choose, like, what's one thing that you're gonna try in a session. You don't need to make it weird. You don't need to be like, oh, this is a thing I'm gonna try. Just weave it in naturally, okay? It might be a tool to regulate. It might be a way to start your session. Just keep it simple. And then as you try them, notice, how did it impact your mentee? How did it affect you? And could this same practice actually help you in your own day outside of sessions? And these small trauma-informed practices don't just support the kids and you as a mentor, but they help you stay grounded and present and connected. And they help you meet kids where they're at and focus on regulation before relating and building connection in everyday interactions. And over time, these moments become the foundation of safety, belonging, and worth. And it gives tools for the kids to use at home and in the community and when they don't have access to you. All right? Healing happens in moments, and every time you choose presence over perfection, you're creating safety and trust that lasts way beyond the sessions. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to get that trauma-informed responses cheat sheet, go ahead and go to stablemoments.com/responses, and it's a PDF, and you can print it out or look at it on your phone, and it'll show the actual situation and what response you can have if you do get into sticky situations. As always, thank you so much for being a big deal in the life of a child. Until next time.